Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blues Hook. Again, John, Dave and myself are going to look back at Leinster's victory down in South Africa at the weekend. Of course, Ireland's victory over in Chicago, and look forward to our big meeting against Argentina in the Aviva Stadium next weekend. So lads, we talk about Leinster first. An odd kind of game. Loads of tries, loads of yellow cards, and only 7 points in it at the end.
It was insane. Somebody said to me, if there's another 5 minutes in that game, it would have been a draw, or maybe even a loss. It's hard to even put a structure. Like, for a start, the Kings, while not at full strength, had a few injuries, but they don't give up any players to anybody at much at this time of the year. I don't think they have any Springboks. Their Curry Cup's over, so they're theoretically, apart from injuries, at full strength. Wherever we have 13 guys in Chicago, another 6 or 7 and 3 or 4 injured. So it should be their best chance ever of beating us. And they fairly well came close after a first half where they got 4 yellow cards. There were 3 guys off the field at once, and 2 guys off the field for a good while. And the last guy just got sent off just before half time.
Was there ever actually 3 guys off the field?
I think
the commentators were of the opinion that there was, but I don't think they were right. I think they had 2 and then an overlap that led them to still having 2, and then I'm not sure if they ever had 3. I could be wrong, but
I could be too.
The game was the first half especially. First of all, the conditions were dreadful.
Yeah, it was
really dreadful.
Windy.
There's a couple of shots of kind of high shots at the stadium. And you can see the trees are nearly bent over double. Like, it was really, really bad.
And it was coming behind Leinster in the first half and against them in the second half.
Yeah, it was. Well, that's the way tennis work. It was.
Could have been the other way around, Dave.
It was. It was really, really tough conditions. Then you have to factor in a really, really understrength team that got even more understrength as things went on.
Yeah.
Against game, but not great opposition.
They're great at running in tries. They're great at being unstructured. Yeah. They're great. Their back 3 are shit off a shovel. Like, they're really quick. Yeah. Give them the ball in space.
But they're lacking in so many other areas.
Yeah, but they can't defend.
In fairness, you can't criticise their spirit or their game.
Their joie de vivre.
Joie de vivre, indeed.
No, you can't. But it's like they're like Brazil with not as much talent in football. You score 5 and we'll score 6.
St. Marcus are like Brazil with not as much talent in football. In fairness, John.
Well, we did manage to bag a load of tries. I think there was 6, wasn't there?
6 tries, yeah.
I'd say just
run them on.
Just play them.
Yeah.
We started off with Byrne after 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll have to narrow that down. There were an awful lot of Burns in that.
There was actually
all weekend.
Yes.
It was actually a really nice dink through.
Yeah.
And in fairness to Byrne, what you hear, he shows good discipline to kind of hang off the ball.
Yeah. Stay and get back behind the ball.
Because he'd had a bit of a nightmare in the first couple of minutes with the try that was conceded.
Yeah. He tripped or he slipped.
He slipped, and the ball took a wicked bounce. And it's hard to be ultra critical of the guy, but you would have hoped he would have done better.
The South African commentators were praising him for his physicality and how hard he is to bring down, which.
Well, Staffers do like a bit of physicality, in fairness.
Well, but it's not something you would have heard said about him.
As we found out at the weekend.
Mm-hmm. Nobody likes it.
I mean, he does well there. He gets good finishing.
I think he's quite a strong athlete.
Yeah, no, he's physically very, very strong.
Nobody likes a tricep to the chest.
Nobody likes a tricep to the chest. Or a shoulder.
A shoulder to the chin, whichever. Somewhere in between the two.
So I think this was the penalty try, isn't it?
I think so. We did have the scrum on toast in the first half.
This P try. Yeah, it was on rails, wasn't it? On wheels.
I like the way that Gibson Park looks really disgusted that the penalty try has been given.
Well, it meant nobody had to kick from out wide.
You might be on a bonus,
Yeah, you never know.
Nice one, Jamie.
He did get on the score sheet though.
Oh, he did.
After this.
I mean, he played reasonably well, in as much as anyone played well in that.
It was a mess of a game to try and say anybody was good or bad in. It was, Dan Levy was pretty.
Dan Levy was good.
Decent.
And the thing is, every time you looked, there was a different player on or off the pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, I only thought Tom Daly in that move.
Mm-hmm.
I was going, oh, there's Tom Daly.
Tomani did very well there, keeping the ball alive.
I think he did, yeah. And good follow-up play.
I think, but you have to be fair, because if we have criticised him in previous games, we have to praise him for some good work here.
Yeah.
He's just got a bang of what's his name, the South African fullback we had, Kirshner off him. You know that he just keep waiting for him to catch fire and he never quite does. Like he's never rubbish, but
you do need a run of games to get any kind of.
Yeah,
but he's getting them now.
Yeah.
Nice block down there, and very well looked after.
Yeah.
And Mr. Levy in for a try. I thought he was going to run over the end line there for a second.
So
was it Brian Byrne that blocked it down?
It was Ed Byrne.
Ed Byrne, I mean, sorry. They do look very like that.
They do. There could almost be twins.
Could. You'd have to think Ed would be a little bit bigger being a prep. But
so they moved this game from the equivalent of their Aviva Stadium to Donnybrook. Well, actually, I would say St Mary's, Templeville Road, because there was they said the official attendance was 1,100. But I think it looked less.
That was a nice
crash
ball from was it O'Brien? No, it was Tom Daly.
Tom Daly.
Similarly shaped.
Not long after that, Deegan got the hook for one dodgy offload too many.
Yeah,
saw that. He threw an intercept. It was directly after he threw the intercept. It was a nice. He hit the line just right there, and got Deegan on the score sheet.
It's pretty ruthless, isn't it?
Very dangerous close to the line.
Whipped off.
Oh yeah.
On the far side, it's no read. And Blas waiting for it.
But one interesting thing it does.
Daly did hit up the ball really well in this match. Yeah. You know?
Gibson.
One interesting thing it does do though
from Noel Reid,
shows that Levy
still they go.
was expecting to play 80 minutes.
Ryan Burns
got the try.
Yeah, nice one.
Excellent running.
I think he's a very good player. I think he could be,
Tracy.
Pushing Tracy or
from Leinster.
pushing whoever is the second choice for the bench slot.
Has gone the wrong way.
I mean.
But enough of that said.
People say, "Oh, is his throwing good enough? Is anyone's throwing good enough at Leinster?" You know.
The binding of the arm, collapse of the scrum should be a penalty.
But I think he's a really good footballer.
It's advantage to Leinster.
His coach at Clongowes reckoned he was the best player ever coached.
Getting the try. Byrne.
He'd coached some
And
pretty
who are
good
we
players.
to disagree?
Yeah. He'd coached some pretty good players.
Do you think Leinster, or Pro 14 in general, has some sort of responsibility to schedule the match against, say, the double European champions, League and European Cup, to schedule it against the two South African teams to try and grow the league down there, instead of putting it on when our second string international team is in Chicago, and as you mentioned, how many players were away, John, playing for Ireland at the week, you know, so you're down to bring in a few foreign internationals or foreign players like the Tomani or
the two were allowed.
Yes, the two were allowed. Well, Gibson Park too, right? And then you know, a bunch of fellas that are either in the academy or only a couple of seasons out of the academy, but would not be starters if we were playing in the European Cup final. Well, but do you think that we should, or the Pro 14 have a duty of care to the league to try and say, this is a game that we're going to market it and send out, you know, have it at a particular time where all of the internationals are available, and so therefore Leinster send down, you know, 3/4 of their first team so that the people in the paying public in South Africa get to see them or experience the Pro 14.
There's a number of things there. One is, as I just said earlier, this is their best chance at us, considering best chance for win. Obviously, we send down Johnny Sexton, they're going to get
hang on, no,
80-0.
It's nothing about beating them, whether you beat them by 20 points or 40 points. You want the league to grow, and you want people to take an interest in it. And 1,100, like, do you know how many air miles and trees did they destroy by flying down to play in front of 1,100 people down in Port Elizabeth?
Well, like I said, will an 80-0 rather than a...
But it mightn't be 80-0. I mean, you know...
Do them any better. It's a thing you hear a lot from, quite often, Welsh teams who say their famous thing was that Brian O'Driscoll never played an away game in Wales. I think he actually played one in his whole career, or very few anyway. And people, in the European Cup, in the league. But on one hand, you can't play your first team every week.
No, you can't.
You need a bit of rotation.
I think what you're saying is that this should be regarded as a fixture that is set for a time when Leinster and Cheetahs or Kings have their full strength.
Correct.
In order to promote the game. Perhaps, but there's a lot of balls in the air when you're trying to set the fixtures.
There is, but
and sometimes the league can want to do whatever the league wants to do, but sometimes TV won't want to do that. Maybe
that's it as well.
There's that element to it as well. I can't see a reason why the league wouldn't want to try and promote itself within South Africa by sending over strong Leinster, Clonettley, Munster teams to play Cheetahs or Kings. This year probably wouldn't be the year to do it because we have the Kings. We don't have Cheetahs. But I can't see why the league itself wouldn't want to do that. So if you accept that, then there must be a reason why it didn't do that. And there are other balls in the air. Maybe Leinster don't want to do that. Maybe Leinster want to play the Kings this time of year because they know that their third team is better than Kings' first team,
I've heard it said as well, the same thing about the Italian crowds. Exactly the same thing said to me by people about that's why their crowds are so small there, because everybody goes over with a weakened team and, they're not seeing the stars and yada, yada, yada. But again, would they win as many matches if all the teams were sending their stars? Which teams do you want?
That we've actually sent. We have in the past sent strong teams to Italy and actually gotten beaten. I remember
Johnny Sexton getting a drop goal to tie it,
and the crowds were what they were.
Yeah. I think we won it by a point.
Now, in saying that,
the crowds are getting bigger in Italy. They are looking.
Well, in saying that, right? I went many years ago now. I think it was 2004. A bunch of us went down to watch Leinster play Treviso in the European Cup, and the covered stand we were in was full. The stand across the pitch and the uncovered side was probably 3/4 full. So there was I don't know what the capacity is there, but maybe 8,000, 6,000, something like that. And there was a good. It was 3/4 full.
Well, it was Europe. But
exactly. But
Treviso were in their own league at the time.
They are redeveloping that stadium at the moment, actually, and they're not doing that for aesthetic values. They're obviously doing it because they think the crowd is there.
Yeah, but at that time, all of the Leinster's big boys played. Contepomi, O'Driscoll, Darcy, et al, Hickey, and all the rest of the stars that were playing for Leinster at the time. But people did come out to watch it,
Yeah, well,
and even fellas like Troncon was playing at the time so they had internationals playing in their team. Obviously they still do, but your man was pretty good.
No, yeah, Troncon was one of the top scrum halves in the world at that time. Yes, you're right. But it's not necessarily always within the purview of the league to do it.
I know that, but I might be this season, should maybe next season, and it just doesn't seem that they work in conjunction with trying to promote the game. There was somebody who was talking about the way the NFL have really worked London into their schedule. They've played 4 or 5 matches every season. They're not warm up games; they are proper league games in regular season. And they're filling out Wembley Stadium every time that they play there, and
your man is the guy. Your man Khan, who owns Fulham and is looking not Baltimore. I don't know who he. I don't know very much about colonial rugby, but he's buying Wembley Stadium or attempting to anyway. And that's
a bit extravagant.
And the idea is that he'll use it as the footstep for. Yeah. For the growth of American football there. I don't know. Yes, I agree with you. I just think that sometimes there are other factors.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I'm just trying to draw some sort of similarity between we'll talk about the Ireland-Italy match later, but it was a similar kind of thing. We picked whoever's the organiser decided to presumably give the IRFU and the Italian Rugby Federation $1 million each to bring a match to America. But Italy are the 14th ranked team in the world. And it's not like in football, if you're the 14th ranked team in the world,
You're
still pretty good. 14 in world rugby terms is quite low down the pecking order as regards, like there's a lot of.
There's a steep.
There's like Georgia's ahead of them, Fiji's ahead of them.
I think that was a bill that was built that way on purpose, because you have to remember, I mean, if you're doing Glastonbury, you don't put on the Rolling Stones before, I don't know, the Fury Brothers and Davy Archer.
Yeah.
We weren't the main event. The main event was Maori against the Eagles. That was the main event. So to a certain extent, you have to you build your bill kind of thing, like a festival kind of thing.
That wasn't televised here, but did the crowd get any bigger?
Somebody said 35,000.
Yeah.
I'd say there was probably 20 at our game.
Yeah.
Looked like it.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, I don't care. I mean, it's a big bag of money.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It is, but you want to grow the sport, and America is an enormous market that you could try and tap into.
Oh, everybody's trying.
Oh, they are, I know, but there's a lot of people in American universities playing rugby. Like once you finish high school and you don't go to play American football and in high school, once you finish that, if you don't get a scholarship in a university, that's it. You're done.
I do, and actually, the head coach of the Cornell Bears is an occasional watcher of this show. Hi, David. I know that for a fact. Yeah, I think their approach in America at the moment is a sensible one. They're not building from the top down. They're trying to build from the. I mean, the big thing in America is trying to get Major League Rugby established.
Yeah.
And they've been quite clever with that. I mean, most of the teams are they've been very careful about how many foreign player teams are allowed, etc. I mean, we see Colin Marsh going over with Ben Foden to play for the New York team. So yeah, it's a disappointing crowd. It's a nice bag of cash. I don't know if it's not gonna harm the development of rugby in the States.
No, but like 2 years ago, obviously the Chicago Cubs had won the World Series. There was a major buzz in the town in Chicago, and then obviously the All Blacks are in town. They're a big draw.
Who was playing them again?
There's tons of Irish living in Chicago, and I certainly know some friends of mine that live in the States that flew to Chicago or went to visit.
That was a confluence of circumstance in a way. I mean, are you ever going to get all those things happening at once? Where the Cubs win the World Series, where Ireland get their first ever professional win. I mean, it holds a special place in our heart.
But not many of us expected us to beat the All Blacks that evening.
No, we all expected if we were going to do it, we would have done it at home the following week. But nobody beats the All Blacks 2 weeks in a row. No matter what it takes, including people's heads off.
Yeah,
exactly. Just quickly running through some of the other results from the Pro 14 last weekend. Edinburgh beat the Scarlets.
Yeah.
Which was a great result for us.
Did not see that coming.
Good result for us. Yeah, well, they were bouncing back. When teams get beaten, get shock defeats, they always bounce back. And they went down to Zebre last week, so Scarlets were also giving up a lot of players. They both were to the same fixture, in fact. They were both giving players to Scotland v Wales, but I think the Scarlets backbone the Welsh team and Glasgow backbone the Scottish team, so Edinburgh perhaps not quite as many players, and they were at home. But yeah, well, you would have expected the Scarlets to do the business. It's not totally beyond the bounds for Edinburgh to win that game, and fair play to them. I was mainly watching the Glasgow Ospreys one. I didn't see too much of it, but they did the job, and it suits us as it now puts the Scarlets 10 whopping points behind us.
Are they 10 whopping points or 9 whopping points?
No,
Ulster are 9
whopping points behind.
Correct.
You mentioned Glasgow beating, so the other Scottish team beat the Ospreys.
Yeah, well, that's not in our conference, so it doesn't directly affect us, but we're still a point ahead of Glasgow, not that it makes any odds.
But they're tipping along nicely there.
But they are
2 points.
They have a lot of bonus points. They've won less win than us, I think. And
they've 7 try bonus points and 1 losing bonus point.
That's rather a lot. Whereas we have 5 and 1, so they're two bonus points ahead of us, and we're 2 points ahead on the table.
Sure.
But the Ospreys, like Munster, would have been in the right spot of bother if they hadn't have pulled through down in Cheetah Land.
They're leaving it quite late,
and
for
they nearly
their
didn't.
matches, aren't they? Recently,
they nearly didn't do it. It was squeaky bum time.
Ref kind of got 2 decisions wrong.
Well, they managed to because Cardiff won with a bonus point, so they had to stay ahead of them, and they managed to do that. But they had the game won, and then the Cheetahs came back and nearly took it off them. Same as in their case, that they were on the high felt, or at least the medium to high felt, whereas we were then at sea level. Yeah. So fair play to Munster. They did the job.
Treviso beaten by Ulster.
Yeah, I watched that game.
I did too. Yeah,
tight game. Actually, it was weird because I was watching.
Tight on the scoreboard, anyway.
Yeah, I was watching that game and I was watching South Africa England at the same time. We'll come to that later.
Me too.
But in the first half, South Africa were completely dominant over England, but hadn't turned their domination into points. And in the Ulster game, Treviso were completely all over Ulster in that first half.
Right.
And didn't turn their domination into points either. It was weird because I was watching these two games that had kind of a similar narrative.
Theme,
yeah.
And finally, the other Irish, or the last Irish team, Connacht beat the Dragons. So it was a clean sweep for all 4 Irish teams. Clean sweep for the 2 Scottish teams as well.
Yeah.
Interesting. And the
only
ones...
didn't see the Connacht Dragons game.
Neither did I, no.
They beat them quite well, 33-12.
You'd expect that, though. The Dragons are...
I'm just thinking that
the knives are out for Bernie.
They must be, yeah.
Oh, big time.
I mean, I've always found the guy to be a really nice guy and a really personable guy, but that's not going to keep him in a job. He needs to start getting results.
Yeah.
Unless he and the Welsh, because he works for the WRD, they own the team. Unless this is part of some long-term plan.
But at some stage, the crowd is going to get.
They're not the least vocal of crowds at the best of times.
Well, like this. They don't like the Irish at the best of times. The fans of regional rugby, they really don't. A lot of them resent being in a league with us in the first place, and having an Irish coach is not going well. And when they're not playing well, now it remains to be seen. Could Joe Schmidt make a fist of the bloody Dragons? I'm sure he'd do a better job than Bernard Jackman, but he is the best coach in the world. Or if not the best,
allegedly
in the top 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But I think the Dragons, the raw materials are not necessarily there. They didn't spend so well. They brought in a lot of marquee, like they brought in Moriarty.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of money on him, and it's not even a central or a shared contract. It's the Dragons paying for that all themselves. They brought in
Hibbert,
your man from or your woman from Coronation Street.
Yeah, Hibbert.
Beth Lynch, and he's probably just getting to the end of his career. Gavin Henson hasn't played, I don't think, whether he's injured or out of favour.
Zane Kirshner was on the bench.
They have a lot of guys that are kind of probably costing them a few quid, but not really.
They're quite big names, and presumably they have, they run a fair few bob.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that Bernard Jackman's kind of idea was to build a team around the young players, and to do that he wanted to get in a few certain wiser heads. The problem is the young players he has aren't very good, and the players that he has that are good, like Moriarty and Hibbert, are stupid. So, I mean, he can't even rely on having them, for 80 minutes, because they are dumb. I mean, but it's a tough situation for the guy, and I'd like him to be successful.
Yeah, but like he's had a big high profile job in the top 14.
Yeah,
he's had a job now for a couple of seasons with the Dragons. Like you might get one more club, and then it'd be hard to sell.
Yeah.
He's on a 3-year deal, as far as I know, in the Dragons, and the talk is that he won't be seeing year 3 if he sees the end of the season.
Yeah.
But he definitely won't be going any further than that, is the talk.
It's a pity, because he's a nice guy, as you say. Another nice guy just to call it quits today was Chris Henry. He played 184 times for Ulster, 24 times for Ireland. Sad to see him go. He was obviously... I remember he had a heart condition a mini stroke.
He came back.
Came back for play. That takes a lot of guts to do that. And he kind of just announced that he's calling it stumps at the moment. Straight away.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was never. I mean, he was unfortunate. He came around at a time when there was a lot of good back rows around the place, and he was never quite at that top level as a player. As a professional, he was immaculate. You know, he really was at a difficult time for Ulster Rugby, both on and off the pitch. He kind of was one of the guys himself, and kind of Rory Best and maybe Louis Ludock, senior pros, who were kind of holding the whole thing together in a way. So he'd be big miss, because he could still. I mean, he was still coming on this season and doing 20-minute jobs that were important. Because
I think he only played once this season.
Well, sorry, over the last year. Sorry, I meant over the last year. But because Ulster, I'm not sure about their back row. So I'm not.
What's his name?
Murphy
Daisel is retired as well.
Yeah, Daisel is retired as well. I mean,
they've had some ridiculous
Peter Brown.
number of retirees in the last 12 months or month probably, but say at the end of last season as well.
Yeah,
like a huge churn in their squad. I thought I read somewhere it was like 8 senior guys.
Well, you've got Trimble and Bow. For a start.
Then you lost Jackson and Olding. I know they didn't retire, but they're
gone.
Piatow
went to Bristol.
The full back, I think their coach.
In the last 18 months, they've lost a whole backline of international players. They lost Pienaar, Jackson, Olding, Piatow, Trimble, Bow, and Jared Payne.
Yeah,
I mean that's
the last 2 years anyway.
Yeah, that's. I mean it's very hard to deal with that kind of churn.
Yeah,
you know, if you lose that kind of bunch of players in the same short period of time, and losing someone like Henry, who would have been a real leader down there as well, is a big loss. I mean, he was a good player he ended up because Joe Schmidt liked him.
Yeah.
So he got a fair few Ireland caps and a few Irish medals as well. You know, so hopefully he
wish
gets
him all the best.
A long life to enjoy those, because he really deserves it.
Yeah. One other notable retiree this week was Gethin Jenkins.
Oh yeah.
He's been around an awful long time. I think he was 37, 38 years of age now.
Yeah.
They had when you remember what's his name? The Tongan guy that they had, who was tight head prop.
Felice, was it?
Felice.
Yeah.
Well, Felice, him, and the hooker. Not good with names tonight.
Oh, your woman Hibbert, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. No, it was only in the last 2 seasons they had a front row.
Watkins
that was 110 years of age.
Oh, T.R. Thomas, was it?
I think it was Tom. Yeah, was it?
Anyway, I think so.
But they had a front row that was 110 years of age at one stage, which is pretty old even for a front row. And apparently Gethin not only scored a try, but had an attempt at converting it as well.
Fluffed the conversion, so
which he missed.
No John Muldoon. Well, I mean, the guy played for Wales.
There'll be a huge amount of disrespect now on behalf of whoever they were playing. Who were they playing?
Yeah.
Zebre.
I'm sure people will be whinging about it. He won.
Zebre, yeah.
Would he win 3 Grand Slams?
Yeah, that's the same amount as Ireland and Scotland.
2 Lions tours, if memory serves.
Definitely 09.
I mean, the guy's.
He's been there.
I mean, he's a room full of t-shirts.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, wish him all the best as well. So anyway, moving.
Questions.
Oh yeah, sorry, Dave.
Yeah, just we have a couple of we have to as influencers, Jason.
Oh yeah.
We have to pay attention to our social media following. So we had a couple of questions here, and actually one very interesting one because it ties into the Irish thing, from Mick Thompson, and he wants to know what does Dan Levy's 80 minutes against the Kings tell us about the role he is likely to play for the rest of the autumn internationals.
Interesting, yeah. Well, it probably tells you for a start that he won't play against Argentina with a 6-day turnaround. But it tells you he could well be in the frame for the big one. Mm-hmm. So he's going to either play against America or against
the All
Blacks.
I'd be disappointed if he plays against America.
Well, I'd say he will indeed, but that leads us on very nicely to what we were talking just before we came on air, how it's outrageous. The second row and the back row, we have never had such depth. Like 3, 4, 5 top class international players are going to be left out of that team against the All Blacks, out of the 23.
Yeah,
you've got 4 second rows: Byrne, Ryan, Toner, and Henderson, and
one of them ain't going to make the match.
One of them's not going to make it, and then you've got,
not forgetting Joe's favourite,
Quinn
Roux,
yeah, who just played. So then you've got Levy, you've got O'Brien, you've got Van der Fleer, you've got Jordy Murphy, who could all possibly play 7. You've got Conan and Stander, who can play 8, and you've got Ruddock and you've got Peter O'Mahony, who can play 6, and how many of them are not going to make it, even to the bench? I mean, that's a lot of bodies that are, that are not going to make it. You would be happy with a combination of pretty much any of them starting against pretty much any team in the world.
Well, even when the team that played in Italy was announced, you're looking through it and you're kind of going, okay, it's not our first choice, but there's some guys in there that are thoroughly deserving their start for Ireland.
And a lot of guys in there who would have serious designs on being first choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Jack McGrath would see himself, as been a Nats Tadger away from being first choice.
Yeah.
He was first choice, in fact,
was first choice
for a year or so.
There's guys like that throughout the team. So, it's a nice position to be in.
It is, and it's an awful headache for Schmitty and the boys, but
that's why he gets paid the mediocre money.
That's what he gets the large dollar for.
Declan Corcoran asks, who would win? Numerous yellow cards or numerous intercept tries? And I think we can say the answer to that is Leinster. We had another question there. As soon as I find it, it's very hard being social media mavens like we are. Yeah, there's one there. Declan Corcoran again asks, he heard the flight back from Chicago had a stopover in Shannon, and when it arrived in Dublin, Jordan Larmour wasn't on board.
Yeah, that's
a classic.
That's a good one, all right.
And we one more on the Twitter machine. Mick Hennessy. Now, this is one that kind of ties in. So we use this to start our talk about Ireland. Mick Hennessy says, even though he bagged a hat-trick of tries from fullback, do you think Larmour is best utilised on the wing for now? If so, who does he replace on the Schmidt team, Earls or Stockdale? There's another position where we seem to be quite well stocked.
That's an interesting one. And that's possibly our weakest position, generally, in the last year or two. Wing has been kind of like,
since Simon decided to go to Paris.
Exactly.
He's got a job in patisserie Valerie.
Well, it is a very interesting question. Like, Rob Kearney with his, who's been playing well for the last, when he's available, for the last kind of year or so, he's put in some top-notch performances. He's Mr. Reliable. You're kind of back to the old Jordan Murphy, Gervin Dempsey question. Do you want the guy that comes into the line and scores lots of tries and makes breaks, or do you want the guy who's reliable and solid and can manage to be under every single ball that's put into the backfield? So, I suppose it's horses for courses. If you're playing the All Blacks, I think you might go for the solid, reliable Mr. Kearney.
We all know Joe's answer to that one.
And, leaves Larmour at 23.
But the thing about it is it asks the question.
Or,
the question hadn't been there before, and now it really does ask the question.
Yeah. But the thing about Larmour as well is,
do you stick him on instead of Stockdale?
He's so young. He's 21. He's played 24 professional games, 7 of which have been internationals, where he's possibly come on for 10 minutes towards the end. So he hasn't actually played a huge amount of rugby to get the knowledge and experience and confidence to play, to be that commanding voice as a full back. On the other hand, you've got Rob Kearney, who's probably, got 70 Ireland caps, 150 or 200 perhaps, Leinster caps. He's probably had an extension built for all his medals. And, so like he's got all that experience and knowledge and know-how built up in stacks, and he can probably read a game and knows what's going to happen a couple of seconds before it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. I remember doing it once with Gervin Dempsey at an international match, and I did it once. I did it with Rob Kearney as well. I like to sit up quite high so I can see the pitch on a diagonal. And I watched Rob Kearney and his movement. When Ireland are defending and he's dropped off, his movement is unbelievable because he just completely
stays with the ball, basically.
Minimises an opposition's kicking game because he's there.
The ball never bounces when he's he's just following the play around, and he's almost telepathic, knows exactly where it's going to be kicked to.
He has that's obviously much kudos there must go to Gervin Dempsey, obviously, who was the original mind reader fullbacker, certainly in a Leinster context. So, and we saw against Toulouse that Larmour is still callow.
Yeah.
But then he has to learn. He's had 24 professional games. Of course he's going to be callow. And not all those 24 were starts.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know, he played how many games in the Six Nations? He played 5 games in the Six Nations or 4 games in the Six Nations, and they were all off the bench. So you take those out.
But he has got the ability to make you go, holy Jesus.
Well, I was saying to Jason, I watched the match down the
when he
Carpenter,
gets the ball.
and people were literally, with that last try, you could actually hear people go, ooh, ah.
And that's in a pub, not even in the stadium.
I mean, it was just
But like
extraordinary.
You could probably count on one, if possibly 2 hands, Irish players who have that ability.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're talking, and it was O'Driscoll many years ago, 17 years ago, when he broke onto the scene, that you kind of go, wow. And you know, before that, my time, Simon Gagan, you know, there hasn't been a whole load of them like through the years, but he could be like our Shane Williams. You know, he's not an enormous guy. Generally,
that's a comparison a lot of people have been making this weekend. Actually, is Shane Williams.
He's a lot bigger and more developed than Shane Williams was when he was his age.
If he has Shane Williams' career, I think
well.
Ireland and Leinster will be doing very well.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I mean, we have all the tries. So do you want to just play them and we'll talk over
Yeah,
them?
maybe I'll just run through them.
It was kind of an odd sort of game, wasn't it? We
were shocking in the first half.
we started off pretty ambitious straight from the kick-off with Stockdale's break. Then we scored this try. In there. We scored this try after 4.5 minutes, and I thought, there's a rout.
I think there was an element of load, fire, aim in that first half, you know, which Joe Schmidt was never going to tolerate.
No, I'd say they got some kick in the hole at half time.
Byrne had a great game. He really had a great game.
Great player.
Yeah. Still don't think he makes the bench for a Six Nations match, but he had a great game. Because I just think that the 3 guys that we're dealing with. Oops, sorry, we'll watch this again just because, you know, why not? But just because the guys we were talking about earlier, I mean, Toner is the line-out captain, Henderson is what he is, and John and James Ryan is just
phenomenal.
Phenomenal. But you know, if one of them is out, so what? Because we have Ty Byrne.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think maybe his versatility, that he can play back row, play second row.
Yeah, he's a bit more versatile than Henderson. Does that mean he edges out Henderson? It's hard to know. Like
Henderson, how many seasons has Henderson been playing? 5?
Yeah,
he's got all that credit in the bank.
Yeah. Exactly.
Probably some of the most successful rugby Ireland has ever played has involved Henderson in some way, shape or form, you know. So
a team that is good enough to leave Ty Byrne out of the 23 is a bloody good team. Yeah.
Well, we are
or Henderson or Toner or whoever.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's going to be unlucky. My sense is that it'll be him, but that's not based on anything much.
But you know, there's always someone injured.
Oh yeah.
So you're always going.
A guy who had a great game actually, what hasn't been a lot talked about because it didn't really kind of come his way, was Conway.
Yeah.
Anything he had to do, he did really, really well. This is just more.
Oh, porn.
Yeah.
It's that step. It's just ridiculous. There'll be a lot of talk about Luke McGrath's support running. It just seems every pundit is talking about it. But it is incredible.
You know, Leinster at the start of the season, they kind of came out with the mantra of we want to attack the European competition, not just to defend it.
Yeah.
Is there a case then, like when you see Larmour and what he can do? Okay, you have to take into consideration that this was a poor Italian side. But he still has to make the break. He still has to step a man. And when you see, like, you know, Rob Kearney's been around a long time, and we spoke about his experience, etc. But he doesn't give you that.
No. But then he makes that tackle in Toulouse.
Is that Mr. Byrne in again? On the crash
it's
ball?
And roundabouts. I mean, it's all very well attacking a competition. I mean, we attacked the Five Nations in 1986, Jason. And we ended up with a wooden spoon. I mean, we played some of the best rugby I've ever seen an Irish team play. I don't know if do you remember? It was the year after we'd won the Triple Crown. We played brilliant rugby that year and won nothing. So, I mean,
nice little intercept from Rhys Ruddock there
to make up for the intercept on him earlier. He had a good game, I thought, actually.
And Mr. Byrne on the score sheet again.
But Byrne comes at that pace, you know it. He's very, very hard. Now watch this. This ball actually gets a nick off the other guy. That's why it goes so far forward.
And you're never gonna have to ask him twice.
But if you watch this from the angle behind, you see him. He just sniffs out a chance. So he does. He's like a terrier onto that ball.
And he has the pace to do it as well.
Yeah.
You know? Remember the one he'd in the Scarlets in the European semi-final where he kicked a head and had the pace to make it. Yeah, it was kind of a knock on if he hadn't caught it.
Yeah, his chest
just takes a nick off him. Yeah.
It's amazing the amount of intercepts.
Watch him. He just goes for it.
But amazing amount of intercepts between him and, well, obviously in this game, but Stockdale must have scored 3 intercepts in the Six Nations in May.
Great one against Wales.
In March last year.
Nugget gets his customary try at the back of the mall.
He gets over the line a lot, doesn't he?
He does.
He crosses the line. Yeah, that's so. You were quite good in the maul, you know. Not so often, not so much maul defence, but we seem to be quite good at. It'll be a weapon we'll use, I'd say, against the All Blacks, who are no slouches in defending the maul. In fairness to them, but I can tell you this much: they won't be resting any of their second rows this time.
No. Neither will we.
I don't think it was rest the last time either, but. They'll want to make sure they come with a fully loaded line out. It'll be an interesting matchup. That's it, the second rows. Whoever the four second rows
are. A lot
are.
of the substitutes that came on did really, really well. I thought.
What do you think of Will Addison?
I thought he did okay. I thought Kilcoyne had a very good game. I thought Bealham had a good game.
There he goes again. Look. It's ridiculous. I mean, you do see sometimes where he goes for those and doesn't get them.
I think the fullback is betrayed by the open side flanker. He expects the open side to make the tackle, and then he's completely wrong-footed when he doesn't. If you watch it here,
what you want with a guy like that is to get mismatches.
Yeah,
You want him against a tight head prop or whoever, a guy who he can sidestep in a phone box, to use the cliche.
Do you know who was really good? Was Ringrose.
Ringrose. Yeah, I was just about to say that. Ringrose is such a great player. And he didn't score any tries or do anything too mental, but
he did score a try.
Oh, sorry, he did score.
And he almost
look at this. I mean, Kilcoyne has problems with his scrummaging, but as a ball carrier,
yeah, he is a good.
He's massively
good
destructive.
Carrier. Yeah. Forgot about that one. Yeah, here we go. Boom.
That's a nice try. So that is a nice try.
But like what I was saying about him is he wasn't as prominent as I've seen him. But everything he did, every touch he had and every tackle he made, everything he did was silky.
Yeah, he was unlucky not to get another try when he stumbled and fumbled just the last moment.
Aki did well for that, so he did.
Yeah.
Drew the man.
But like you see, there's a selfishness, selflessness when they're willing to give passes.
Of course. There's another place where we have
for some reason we're looking at this game.
A few options. Aki, you don't lose a whole lot if either Henrose or Ringshaw are out. You don't lose a whole lot with Aki in there.
I think
he can put. Didn't Aki play in every game in the Six Nations?
I think it's a wedge. I'm not sure that it's not a matter of who plays with Aki.
Not sure.
But whichever two of those three guys are playing, you're not losing a huge amount. You're losing certain things that one can do that the other can't. But I suppose Henrose and Ringshaw playing together for Leinster, having a bit more telepathy, like their predecessors, Mr. O'Driscoll and Mr. Darcy, and
that step is just amazing.
It's like something out of a superhero film or something.
It's like something you try and feat on a computer game.
Yeah.
So it is.
And actually earlier on in that, here's an even better step.
Bang.
Yeah. Earlier on in that move, he made a few closer to our line. He made a few things that started that break off. It went to Baruch or two, and then he got that.
He has scored some unbelievable tries. You think of the one against Munster. The one against Ulster, the one against Scarlets in the final.
He does some outrageous things with a rugby ball in his hand. And the great thing is, like you said, he's 21. We could potentially have another,
10 years.
10, 12 years of that.
What's that huge grey thing in the corner, John? Sorry. Massive thing with a big dangly yoke. Is it? Oh, there's an elephant in the room. What's got written on it? Ireland played much better with Bernard out half than they did with Carberry. Sorry, yes. Ireland played much better with Bernard out half than they did with Carberry. But much more shape on us. Created.
I thought Carberry had a mixed performance, but he was very accurate from the boot. He tried to kick it. He didn't kick it. He ran, didn't he? A lot.
So I'm just rewinding 12 months so we can go through every single Carberry performance in the last 18 months and say the exact same thing.
What, that he's brilliant with the ball in hand, takes the ball to the line but can't manage a game?
Yeah.
We're back to the Ian Madigan thing here.
I think that he eats up too much space for his outside backs.
Yeah, well, I think he's a better player than Ian Madigan, but I have to, you can't disregard for example, the opinion of Mr. Henry, who said, base your team around that guy for 10 years.
The guy thought Tyrone Howe was a better winger than...
Always says that.
No, you're right.
Always says that. Yeah, he got everything else he did wrong as well, didn't he? God bless him.
In fairness, an all-black coach who doesn't win a World Cup is a failure.
That's true. But I just think we used to say that about Madigan as well. He's a fabulous rugby player, but is he a 10 is what you used to say?
Yeah. Well,
Joey Carberry,
I think we could be having a huge debate at this stage about if Joey Carberry had been left in his best position, which is fullback, between him and Larmour and Rob Kearney. That would be a massive because we saw it for Leinster when Carberry played fullback, particularly against Wasps. The creativity and vision he has is when he has the whole pitch in front of him and space to operate in. Mm-hmm. I think that's where he's most dangerous.
Do you think that in a couple of seasons' time, if and when Sexton decides to hang up his boots, that Leinster are going to build another European winning team around Ross Byrne?
I know they're not going to build it around Joey Carberry.
Well, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I think they are.
Would they?
I think. He's 22 years of age.
He's a bit more than that.
Yeah, 23 or 24. But he's still got 2 years to go before he's where Johnny Sexton was when he became Johnny Sexton. So he's got that development to do, and I think he's well on the path to it because he puts if you're going to play a game a certain way that has all sorts of moving parts going on, every bicycle wheel needs a hub. If you've got all the spokes going all around, everything spinning, you still need a hub. And I think Joey Carberry's more like one of those pieces of cardboard that's in the... I think
Ross Byrne is a functional player, and I think he's a very good backup to Sexton at the moment, but I don't think he's your starting 10 even in 2 years' time. I'm just not seeing it. Like, I think he's a very functional player, but I just I think you've got, and when you're looking back and you see Sexton, you just knew back in 08 and 09 that he was going to be something very special. I don't see that in Byrne at the moment.
I do. I like the way he control. I like the way he controls the game. I think there's always this dichotomy between the different types of out half.
The Carlos and the
You've got the Carlos Spencer and you've got the Andrew Mertens. You've got, the what's his name, the English guy.
Johnny Wilkinson? No,
and the Johnny Wilkinson. Like, people talk about Shane Gary. There was loads of other guys like that. And
Danny Cipriani.
And it's always the guy who you can build the team around, not upon, but around, who the coaches go for. Ronan O'Gara was the Irish out half over other more amazingly talented players. But Jeremy Staunton, initially. O'Gara was the one because you knew that 99% of the things Ronan O'Gara did were going to come off. And they were going to be the right decisions. It's the same with Andrew Mertens. Andrew Mertens is one of the great All Black out halves. Carlos Spencer isn't. And there's other guys like that. Michael Lynagh is a great Wallaby. David Knox isn't. There's that kind of...
Michael Lynagh back in, what year was it, 91, with 2 minutes on the clock when they needed a try. They could have taken a drop goal. He would have got it. He was right in front of the post. He didn't. He ran it.
Yeah, but he made...
No, but he ran it.
Oh, yeah.
He ran it. He showed the flair, the attack, and the confidence to attack, not to sit back in the pocket and kick it into the corner.
But he made the right decision.
Of course he did. But he took the attack. He attacked Dave. Ross Byrne, you're not going to get the same attack as other players. I'm not saying Joey Carbery. I'm not saying he's the great, successor to Sexton. But I will say that I would be surprised if Leinster build their team around Ross Byrne in 2 years' time, 3 years' time.
This is going to be a really interesting debate that I can see Dave's shaping up on one side of it and Jason is shaping up on the other side of it. And I'm probably going to get swayed in both directions during it because I can't honestly... I would have been a Carbery man, nailing our colours to the mast here. I would have been a Carbery man when they were both at Leinster last year. I'm not so sure now that he's got that much more exposure at 10. Like, he's a fabulous player. But I take what you're saying about him having space in front of him as a fullback, and also what you're saying about the way the most important thing Eddie Red have is the decision making and doing the right thing at the right time. Not saying he can't learn that.
No.
So I think it's going to run, and I think we could all be swayed back and forwards in that debate over the next couple of years before Johnny Sexton shuffles off.
If Carbery does
at 40.
Roughly, Tom Brady like
decision making and ability to manage the team the way that the likes of Ron O'Gara did, the likes of Johnny Sexton did, then he's just going to be an unbelievable player.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say though, isn't it great that we can have this discussion? We've got two guys of a good enough quality. And
not even that. I mean, there are other young guys coming up.
Absolutely,
I mean, you've got Harry Byrne behind Ross.
Yeah.
You've got David Hawkshaw.
Yeah.
You've Bill Johnson down in Munster,
who looked pretty good against the Cheetahs.
Against the Cheetahs. There are young guys there. Lots of young guys. I mean, Michael Lowry has looked great for Ulster so far this season. It has to be remembered he's an out half by trade.
Is he?
Yeah.
Didn't know
So there are guys. We are in a decent enough position.
Yeah. So the golden generation is now not really the golden. This is the golden generation. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, this is the new golden generation.
I think it makes sense to not have to hoard one bunch of gold. Just have loads of gold all the time.
Yeah. Well, one man who has loads of gold is Joe Smith, and it depends on whether he's going to take Irish gold or go down for some New Zealand gold
or Japanese gold or
gold,
or red, white, blue and green gold in the form of the Lions. That could be an option as well. I mean,
he could also replace Eddie Jones in England.
He could also. I think he'd be mad to go near that. I think anyone is mad to go near that English job, which is why Eddie Jones has it. I would not be surprised. I'm not saying, and I hope it's not true. Although there is an element of how many. Michael Checker said after a while players get bored listening to.
And he is in Ireland since 2010.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when you're in a club side, you've got the players, the same guys for 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
An international team is constantly changing. Fellas are good enough to play or dropped out of form, retires.
Look at Warren G.
Well, I was thinking of the Irish team that started that started Joe Schmidt's first match in the Six Nations back in 2013, and the Irish team that started his last match in the Six Nations thus far against England. I'm trying to think how many guys were on both teams.
Best,
Sexton, Carney,
and that's pretty much
not a huge amount more.
Cian Healy maybe.
Cian Healy, but he's managed that throughput of players, that turnover of players, really, really well,
and also deepened the squad.
Oh, unbelievably, the depth.
Didn't do it on his own.
No.
In fairness, but he's huge.
So maybe that thing about the staleness of the voice doesn't really apply. But he is a Kiwi, and that New Zealand job might be the one he wants.
Yeah, but all of the Irish players are all saying, God, it's great working with him, and he challenges us and he drives us on. And when you win your back-to-back championships and Grand Slams and obviously European Cups for Leinster.
If you want to hear somebody fanboy over Joe Smith, listen to Ron O'Gara talking about him.
Yeah.
And O'Gara is not a guy given to hero worship.
O'Driscoll was on off the ball on Friday night. Now, I'm not saying O'Driscoll has an inside track. He kind of said he didn't, but he did say he had a cup of coffee with him a few weeks ago, and he got the impression that he was going to stay. But like that's what.
I don't know. I'm blowing both directions on that one.
I would.
Sometimes I get a feeling he's going to go.
It might be better for him not to be the next coach to Steve Hansen. You know, just for. So maybe a stint is finish the Ireland job, do the Lions coach, let the next New Zealand coach implode, and then take over and lead them back to the promised land, kind of thing.
Well, that's an interesting thing you mentioned, the Lions tour, because he could sign a 2-year deal with or a 1.5 year deal.
Well, they take a sabbatical, don't they?
Yeah, so he could sign a little extension, give Ireland a chance to develop somebody or get somebody in, and go for the Lions.
Mentoring role.
Yeah. And go for the Lions job. So yeah, that's an interesting little wrinkle that you could look at.
Will we have a quick go of picking a team that's going to face
How
Argentina?
many times have we tried this?
And we're always wrong. Yeah, but sure.
Have we ever got a Joe Schmidt team right?
Probably not.
No.
We've got 90% of it right on occasion.
The best start.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think we know it's going to be Furlong and Keneally.
Yeah.
Second rows. 1 of 4.
James Ryan is going to start.
Yeah.
James Ryan and Devon Toner, I think.
Okay.
This is for the All Blacks or Argentina?
No, Argentina.
James Ryan and
Henderson.
Ty Byrne. No, Henderson. Yeah.
After that, you're looking at the really hard part, the back row. What's he going to do there? Is Sean O'Brien going to get a run at 7? Is he going to go? Well, he's not going to go Levy, we've established, for Argentina. But is it going to be Van der Fleer? Also, possibly not, because he's just played.
I'd say he'll go with Sean O'Brien, CJ Stander, who's in need of a game, and then Peter O'Mahony, because he has had an injury niggle, so if he's clear, might give him a run out. Might start him, but might give him a run out. Might even use Byrne as a 6 against Argentina.
That's possible.
To give Peter O'Mahony another week if he needs it, or 60 minutes of Byrne at 6, and then 20 minutes to give O'Mahony time to get back up to speed.
Yeah. Or vice versa, half each or something.
Yeah.
O'Mahony to start. Yeah, that's quite possible. You'll know if you see the number 20 jersey with Tyke Burns' name on it that he's going to come on and replace O'Mahony pretty much. Especially if 19 has whoever, Devon Toner or Ian Henderson in it. So
then your halfbacks?
Everybody says it's going to be Marmion, and it's hard to argue.
I think it will be Marmion, but I don't think it'll be Marmion against Argentina.
That's what I mean, against Argentina.
I think it'll be Cooney against Argentina.
Do you?
Yeah. I think you have Marmion on the bench.
I'd say it'd be the other way around. I think you'd start Marmion and maybe have Cooney on the bench. We'd see.
It's hard to know.
It's hard to know. Could be a shootout, like you're saying, a start for...
give everyone a go, like.
Yeah, start for McGrath, and then a start for Cooney, and then... Cooney could get a start against America.
He could do.
And then Marmion and...
I think he's worth a start against Argentina.
Yeah, no, I'm not love him as a player. I'm not disputing it. I'm just what I think Joe Schmidt will do. I think Joe Schmidt will give Marmion the start to get him up and running. And then there's the old mind games of, has he got Conor Murray in or is that a load of shite? Leaning towards it's a load of shite, but you just never know.
Do you think
just to go back to what I was saying about Cooney, I think you would have had Marmion on the bench and given him 20 minutes as well.
Marmion was playing for Connacht, wasn't he?
Yeah, but I'm talking about against Argentina, sorry.
If Conor Murray is coming back, then it's a shootout between Marmion and McGrath who'll get the 2 starts for the bench against Argentina.
If Murray is parachuted in, if he's parachuted in, does that send out pretty negative vibe to the other 3 scrum halves to say, and you never know, like those lads could be called in at a vital moment in the World Cup against Scotland, against South Africa, whenever they're needed. Jesus, you want their confidence sky high. You don't want it going, well, I'm really only a bit player, and Conor Murray's on one leg or half a neck, and
there's all kinds of conspiracy theories.
But there is also the reality there that Conor Murray on one leg is better than most scrum halves in the world.
Yeah,
I mean, he is just world class. So Joe Schmidt isn't stupid. He's not going to do something. He's not going to take an inordinate risk like that.
No, but a really, really strong team, if he gets through the Argentina game with no injuries, he could have a really, really strong team with Marmion and say McGrath.
Yeah.
playing scrum half.
Starting
one of them and benching the other.
I think he might.
Or Cooney.
What I think he might do is he might start Cooney against Argentina, have Marmion on the bench, then Marmion will start against the All Blacks with McGrath on the bench.
That's plausible. That's eminently plausible.
That's how I can see it going. Now it could go completely another way, but that's how I could see it going anyway.
My feeling is that the Murray thing is something that needs to be deliberately said just to keep Steve Hansen guessing
it's a bit
that he's
too
not going to
Royal
play.
Rovers, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit too Harchester Rovers, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, centres.
We're not playing with an out half, are we not?
Oh, I presume.
No need to discuss that one.
Ross Byrne is starting for you, Dave.
Oh yeah, Ross Byrne for me with Ian Keatley on the bench.
You'd have to see Johnny with either Byrne or Carberry getting a little cameo.
Yeah.
But Johnny Sexton's going to start, get the hand in.
Mm-hmm.
Centres, Henrose and Ringshaw, get him up
I
and
think
running.
Henshaw anyway. I think they want to get him a run.
Might give Will Addison a run
Maybe,
at a start there.
The only thing I'll say about the Henderson,
Although he has
Or
had McCluskey in the squad. He might use McCluskey.
for America,
I know he. Yeah. No, it's fair enough. Yeah, carry on. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
the only thing about Henshaw and Ringrose and Aki as a combination is that you're unlikely to put one of them on the bench.
Yeah.
Because you need that back three cover. Okay, you can pull Ringrose out into the wing, but it's not at an international level. It's not something you want to be. It's not a risk you want to be taking. So, whichever of the three of Henshaw, Ringrose, and Aki doesn't get into the starting team is probably not going to be on the bench.
No.
You know, which is, you know.
I'd say they're either. I'd say of those three, they're either starting or they're in their street clothes. You know, I think that's.
If you had Carberry on the bench, he covers so many positions.
Yeah, if you Carberry
and then Larmer as well.
Larmer,
those two, you know, that's pretty much.
Carberry and Larmer could cover your back three and even
five.
scrum half at a
actually,
pinch.
I don't think it's any fluke that Joe mentioned it today. That Larmer has covered centre as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he very rarely says things. He very rarely misspeaks, Joe.
Do you remember a couple of years ago, and I can't remember the player who came on and scored maybe 3 tries of him, Gilroy.
No, it was Gilroy, yeah.
And he slated him.
Yeah.
And he never got picked
Yeah,
again.
he scored 3 tries, but like, Jesus.
Yeah,
his defence was shocking.
But then when, he was obviously Larmer scored 3 tries in America, and the first thing he did was he bigged up Stockdale.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't kind of linger on.
No, he's not. Joe doesn't get carried away with stuff like that. I don't think. But I think it was noticeable that he didn't do him down anyway, unlike he did with Gilroy. Yeah. Gilroy must have really gotten his tits that match. I've never seen a player score a hat trick and get such a
roasting.
Yeah, but I think he might go with Addison at outside centre.
I'd like to see that because I thought he was good and he came on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then finally the back three.
Yeah, there will be one. Well, I mean, what is Keith Earls fit?
I'm not sure.
Conway did really, really well. It has to be said. Stockdale did well with what he had. We don't know what situation Rob Kearney's in. Apparently, if he trains on Tuesday, he might be in with a shout. But they're still not sure about him.
Well, like, if Rob Kearney isn't playing, you have to have Larmer at full back. There's not really.
He might try him on the wing, and he might use Addison at full back. Yeah, he has options. Because he's got strong options on the wing as well. So
he might go for Henshaw at full back, would he, and have Aki.
Well, funny enough, Andy Crawford's after sending us a message, and he says he says that Dricko reckons that Henshaw's best position is full back. Now, when Henshaw broke initially into the Connacht team, and I think he played schools rugby there as well.
He was
a fullback,
yeah.
But I think he was.
I think he played schools rugby at 13, but he played for Connacht at 15 for a whole season, as far as I remember.
Yeah, so there is a lot of talent there, in terms of you've got Stockdale, Earls, Conway, Sweetenham. I
don't think Sweetenham is getting into the next Larmer, 2 games, barring
Addison,
share slipping of the highest
Rob
order.
Kearney. You never know. You don't know. You see, if he works his ass off in training and does all the things that Joe wants him to do, then Joe will play him.
Yeah,
he will.
Never happen, mate. Never happen.
I don't think it'll happen.
You've got to run against America.
I don't think it'll be needed. But he is a guy. If he works hard, then Joe will. He's a guy that Joe will like. Because Joe likes really good, honest, hard-working players.
I'm not saying he's rubbish or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't think he's going to get into the team for Argentina.
Is this our first game against Argentina since the World Cup?
No,
we played them.
We played them twice, I think. Since
We've definitely played them once. Yeah.
Okay.
And we've beaten them. I was just saying, because I was just saying to Miriam there earlier, I've seen Argentina so many times. You know,
we seem to be. We always seem to be playing them whenever the World Cup rankings are.
We play Argentina a lot. When you consider the bad blood that often has been between the teams, we do play them an awful lot.
And they're always seen as, you know, at the end of a long season. They're always shit when they come up in the autumn. But I have a feeling this season of something in me waters is telling me. I mean, I know the Aussies aren't hugely brilliant.
Did you rob a bike earlier?
No. Poor old Mick Hennessy's bike was robbed, though, I heard.
Oh, right, okay. No, it wasn't John Hugh.
Poor Hugh's bike was robbed a few weeks ago as well, so...
Was that Mick Hennessy? Maybe it's a revenge.
They happen in different countries that neither of the other one was in.
Perfect
at
alibi.
The time. Okay. Argentina, I think they have something about them. They beat the Wallabies in Brisbane, I think, was it?
Yeah,
yeah, I know, but... they just seem to have a bit more about them. I'm not saying they're going to take us out of it. I'm saying that if we played them 10 times in the autumn,
it's very hard to know. It's very hard to know at this time of year.
That's it. That's my point.
They'll want to start ramping up for the World Cup.
Yeah.
But they're not going to start ramping up in November. You know, so they'll be on downtime, I think.
It's amazing what they can just manage to get their players to peak, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's incredible.
Look at them in 07, like
Jesus,
they were.
Yeah.
They
weren't bad in '99 either.
Yeah, they put us out. Did they win the third place playoff?
Yes, they did.
In 2007,
yeah.
I think they did.
They did. They were excellent in 2007. They were very unlucky. Actually, Brendan Fanning had a very good piece on it in yesterday's paper. They were very unlucky to lose a shootout with France. Well, a game that turned into a shootout, if you like, with France in '99 in the quarter final, in Dublin, of all places. They did well in 07. They did well last year, obviously. The last World Cup they beat us.
They have won knockout matches in the World Cup.
Yeah, well, that's true. You know,
which is more than we've done.
It is something that always.
But then that match in 03, you know, in Perth.
Yeah, that was a dreadful game.
It
was really.
The Quinny dislocated
shoulder scoring a try. What was it? Did it finish 12-9 or 16-9?
16-17 or something.
It was a dreadful game. It was a real attritional game.
Yeah, there was a bit of bad blood in that game too.
Yeah.
Well, one game that kind of ended in a bit of a controversial moment was England's victory over the Box in Twickenham on Saturday. All culminating in the high tackle by Farrell. What were your views, lads?
Well, as Dave has said, he was watching Ulster on one screen and England and South Africa on the other. As was I. I only have Sky Sports on my phone.
I was watching Wales and Scotland on the third screen.
I couldn't be arsed doing that.
That's why I have all those laptops, Jay.
So, I wasn't. My one was on the big telly and the other one was on my phone. So England were on my phone, and I couldn't hear it. I wasn't listening. I was only looking. So I didn't hear what the commentary team had to say, but I just went, Jesus, that's a shoulder to the head. He's going to get carded.
Stuart Barnes immediately called it as the pen.
Yeah.
High shot.
Yeah. He didn't get cited, and nor should he, because
it wasn't
a red card, so there's no question to answer. It was dodgy. It was reckless. It was certainly a penalty. Was it a card? Some refs would give a yellow for that. So
was Cipriani, like we had this debate a couple of weeks ago.
Well, Cipriani
was Cipriani's any?
I think Cipriani had more. While it wasn't as high, as heavy an impact,
it was higher.
It was a little bit higher.
Which is the if you like the demarcation line for a red card is the shoulder line. You know, I mean the Farrell was definitely below the shoulder line. It was into the chest. It certainly was a penalty. It may have been a yellow. It wasn't a red, but it certainly was a penalty.
Yeah.
And
got the kick was 55 metres out.
Yeah, well, that's the question. And he'd missed one, or he'd had one off the post slightly earlier. But it just goes to show the IRFU always get its revenge. Always gets its revenge. There was Razzie Erasmus thinking, oh, I'm in with a great chance of a win against Twickenham. Let's go to the TMO. The IRFU's Ollie Hodges. What's that you say? Break a contract, you say? IRFU, they're like ninja.
They're like the Clongowes Mafia, Dave.
They are like the Clongowes Mafia. I don't know how I ever got accused of being a member of the Clongowes Mafia. I went to school on the Navan Road.
Well, anyway, boys. You got more?
Well, I'd just like to mention, in a bravura act of not giving a fuck, 2 weeks after the IRFU release their pathway to whatever bollocks they're calling it for the women's rugby team, they decide to schedule the clash, the Six Nations clash against England, the biggest game, for 5 o'clock on a Friday.
Any reason why?
Not ideal.
Huh?
Any reason why?
So as nobody will watch it.
Oh, no.
I don't know why. I can't understand it why. I can't understand why an Ireland-England match in any code you put on at a time that A, nobody can go to it, and B, nobody can watch it.
Is it because they want to show the under-20s match perhaps later that evening? I'm only guessing.
I don't know, but 5 o'clock is a ridiculous time.
Absolutely.
Put it on at 6. Give people at least a chance to get to log off their computers and go to a pub. So, I mean, you got to admire them.
Anyway, on that bombshell, Dave. Thanks very much for watching, and a million thanks, boys, as well. Cheers.